Welcome to Recruitment Rehab, the podcast for your recruitment confessions. Yes, we'll talk about what makes a great recruiter, a great recruitment business, and the secrets behind the success of our various guests. But we're also here to unpack why the industry has such a stellar reputation. You know, like being ranked just above traffic wardens and just below estate agents in the public's hearts. Each episode, we're going to be joined by guests from across the recruitment spectrum to share war stories, confess their past sins, and even maybe admit to being the reason that someone was sworn off recruiters forever. It's part therapy, part revelation, and entirely more honest than your average job spec. This is Recruitment Rehab. Let's get stuck in. Today's guest has over 12 years experience building and scaling high-performance specialist finance recruitment teams. He started his career at Robert Half, where he rose from trainee to associate director. He led a 40-strong team and grew the Northwest region from 2 million to 15 million. He then joined FJR Group, taking the business from 3 million to 12 million across Manchester, London and Edinburgh. As founder and CEO of Forged Talent, he's built one of Manchester's fastest growing finance recruitment firms, scaling from 1 to 11 fee earners, placing over 250 finance professionals, and on track to build 2.3 million as a business in only their third year in business. Max, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I'm not afraid to say the biggest hitter we've had on so far. I've been telling everyone we got the big hitters in now. We're levelling up.
I don't know about that, mate. The people that talk the most shit, maybe. I'd definitely fall into that camp.
Fair. Look, let's start at the beginning then. So tell us a bit about how you got into recruitment and then your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, you want everything.
Well, no, we'll start at the beginning. Start at the beginning.
So I, like a lot of people did like 13, 14 years ago, I completely fell into it. So background was, I was based up in Edinburgh. I was playing rugby to a high level, then had a contract down south. Always thought from like a young age, like I was going to be like the next Brian O'Driscoll. Like I was going to be on the Lions tours, all that type of stuff. Then when I was eventually like playing full time, I was like, yeah, no, I don't want to wake up feeling like I've been hit by a car, like non-stop. So I moved back to Edinburgh and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Did I become an accountant because I had a degree in like accounting and economics? Did I want to go into investment banking? I just didn't want to study though. So finance and accounting recruitment, fell into it with Robert Half. I think I applied for a job that they had advertised for a trainee accountant, got a phone call from the MD up there, and it was along the lines of, yeah, well, you can't go forward for this job. Like, you have no qualifications. However, you've played rugby to a high standard. Can we have a chat? 2 chats later, offered me a job. Still didn't really know what I was getting myself in for, but I was joining Robert Half, who were the largest finance and accounting recruiter globally. So I knew I would get a really good start. I was there for 7 years, went from rookie to director or associate director. Started off as a temp biller, was one of the top rookies in the UK. Fast forward, I was then managing teams within the Edinburgh business, the Glasgow business. MD of the UK relocated me to Manchester to rebuild the Manchester business back in 2017. Over a 4-year period, took that from 5-6 heads to sort of 45, 50. Predominantly across finance and accounting, just in the Northwest. But I'd become an arsehole. Like, for want of a better phrase, like everything was KPIs. Like, somebody was doing a 30 grand month. It was like, why can't you do 40? Somebody was getting 6 temp starts in a week. It was like, why can't you get 10? So I had that moment of like self-reflection, and it was like, I need to make a change. In the back of my mind, I knew I always wanted to set up my own business, but I had this big corporate safety net of Robert Half, like $6 billion turnover. So nothing could ever really go wrong. So had to join a small business to get an understanding of what it actually meant. Like, what did your P&L actually mean? Like, what was important from a cash flow perspective? So I joined a business in Manchester called FJR. Had a really good reputation at the time in terms of the brand. What I didn't know was when I joined, they had a load of financial difficulty. So I got hit with that sort of week 3. And it was like, well, I've made my bed. Like, I've got to lie in it. Like, I've got to make this work. So over a 4-year period, strip them back to then scale them back up. We were Manchester, London, Edinburgh. We had 50 people at its peak, and it was finance, technology, and HR. And then in the back end of 2022, my daughter Delilah was born, and it was that moment of, if I don't do something soon, when am I going to set up my own business? So Forge Talent went live in May 2023.
Buzzing. No, some story. I never realised your sporting background. So you like, what, is it semi-pro? Is it like...
So I did all the Scotland age grade stuff.
Wow.
So like Scotland 16s, 17s, 18s, like played like the Junior Six Nations, all that type of stuff. Was in different academies, like Scotland Sevens. And I randomly took a contract with Rotherham Titans. And that was where I decided, do you know what, rugby's not the be-all and end-all. Don't really want to live in Rotherham. Not going to be Brian O'Driscoll.
Yeah.
So let's move back to where I was from, and let's figure out what I wanted to do longer term.
Was that a painful process, or were you at peace with it pretty quickly?
I was at peace with it really quickly, because I was going to move. Well, the plan was move back to Edinburgh, and I would join the team that I'd been with, like as a junior before I went sort of full time, and they were going to set me up with a flat, accommodation, like cash, like look after me until I figured out what I wanted to do. And I was supposed to be playing London Scottish on the Sunday. I literally phoned the head coach on the Friday morning being like, yeah, just to let you know, I'm on a train back to Edinburgh. I'm like walking out my contract. He went ballistic. I was back playing for Heriots like 2 weeks later. Wow.
Yeah. And I'm sure you hear it all the time, or you see it all the time, right? Sporting backgrounds, recruitment, and the correlation between success there. Like, do you agree with that? Why do you think that is?
100%. I think a load of different reasons. I think what sport gives you is structure and discipline, and I think you need that in recruitment. Like you need to be able to plan your day, and we're going to cover loads of this stuff, right? But I think you need to be able to plan. Like you need structure. I think it gives you a competitive edge, because as much as I was in a team sport, you always wanted to be like the top, right? You always wanted to be seen as like the go-to. I think you need that in recruitment. I think you need that in sales, like that striving to be the best from a competition point of view. Mm-hmm. So I've always, anybody that I've hired that's got a sporting background or played to a decent level, they're normally pretty good at recruitment.
Yeah.
Because of accountability and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. 100%. And what about the fact that you went to uni, studied more of a finance degree, then transitioning into recruitment? How did you feel about that?
So I got my degree while I was playing rugby. Mm-hmm. So like I was there, but not there. Right. Like a lot of the stuff I did was online. Yeah, exams were in person. But I can't say that I had like your typical uni experience, because I was in a flat with a loads of boys that I was playing for Scotland with. So then stepping into recruitment, going from like pretty much being carefree, like you're in the gym or you're playing rugby, to then being in an office setting. Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment. Mm-hmm. And back then, like you were chained to your desk. Yeah. Like it was 7:30 till 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and you weren't leaving until you hit your objectives or you hit your call times. So that was an adjustment. Yeah, absolutely.
But what about like going to uni and thinking, oh, this might not have been the case, but I'm going to work in finance, to then ending up in recruitment? How did you feel about that? Or were you never that set on going into finance?
I was never that set on going into finance. Like I got a degree because my old man said, you need something to fall back on. Yeah. So I was all right when it came to finance and economics and stuff. So it was like, well, I'd done that as sort of A levels. So yeah. Like, well, let's just transition into that in the city I was already in.
How much help was that giving you throughout your career, given what you recruit for?
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
You just picked it up from speaking to candidates?
Just picked it up. It's the way to learn.
Yeah.
Like, and I started from the ground up. So I was placing like purchase ledger clerks, like matching, batching and coded invoices on a temporary basis. Like you were paying people like £8 an hour.
Right.
And I loved it. Like you learn so much from being immersed in the market that you specialize in. And you naturally go through the ranks. So it's like now I'm speaking to CEOs, CFOs, FDs, like on a daily basis. And it's just that transition. But the best way to learn is I used to sit down with candidates in a registration and everything was face to face. And it was talk to me like I know nothing, like treat me like a dummy, like when we're talking through CVs, and it was just be a sponge.
Yeah.
And that's what helped far more than any degree.
Yeah. So as you know, so many people get into recruitment, fail in recruitment, certainly within the first year. Like what do you think allowed you to be successful?
The team element of coming from a sporting background really helped, like that discipline and that structure, and that relentless pursuit of I want to make money. Like when I first got into recruitment, like that was a huge. I'm not saying I'm not money motivated now, but it was massive back then. I wanted to earn. I wanted to be flash. I wanted to be able to have a good time, and I think accountability, discipline, competitiveness, but also having this financial motivation of I want to earn cash. Like that's what helped me, and I think people struggle when they get into recruitment now because they don't realize how hard it actually is to make any money. Like I joke about it on LinkedIn. People think they year one you're gonna earn 100 grand and get a Lambo. That is not the case. I don't have that now. So like that's you don't have that now, I'm assuming. So but people think, and in the world that we're now in of instant gratification and social media, people think that they can get into this industry and that's just going to be the norm, like this champagne lifestyle. Like it's not the case. It is an absolute grind. So I think people struggle when they get into the industry because of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, why do you think so many? Well, what do you see that recruiters who start in the industry do that leads to them failing so often? And is it that just instant gratification or wanting instant gratification?
Wanting instant gratification, I think leadership and like I've got to take ownership. Like you run a business, you've got to take ownership. I don't think or certainly previously, not set the stall out of an expectation point of view. Like we want to be a good place to work. People want to have a nice environment. And then as soon as there's a little bit of pressure, what are you going to build? Like, how are we going to help you get there? Like people are like, oh shit, like this is actually really, really hard. So I think the expectation piece coupled with the instant gratification, I think it's then really, really tough for people.
It's a really interesting point you made there about setting the expectation. Something I, obviously hiring people at the minute and could learn from. Like, how do you spell it out to people, especially people who are new to the industry, what their first sort of 6-12 months are going to look like and how hard it's going to be?
Yeah, I think it starts at the first interview. Like we're going to talk about Forge, right? I could easily have another 5, 6, 7 people in the business already. We've not, because we set the stall out early on of how much of a graft it's going to be. It's like, this is the expectation to pass your probation. I don't think the passing the probation piece in our business is actually that hard. But here's the expectation once you do that. So this is what the first 6 months will look like from your training, your development, like your onboarding, and all that good stuff. This is what you have to do. But it's then the important bit is what's after that. But it's on the leadership, like people like us, to spell out like what the training and development looks like for people, like the regular check-ins. So I think it's definitely an evolution. But I think spelling it out from the get-go of what they have to do from a financial target point of view, because clearly we're a business. We have, and we're going to talk about KPIs later, but we have one core KPI in the business, and that's how many people you meet face-to-face a week. And it's spelling that out. But to do that, you've got to plan every single day. Like if you come in and try and wing it, you will not be successful in our business or in the industry, in my opinion.
So obviously you don't have to give me your specific targets, but what does that look like in the first 6 months? Like what are you going to be looking from to see from someone?
I will absolutely tell you, I don't mind. Right. So from a financial point of view, first 6 months, you have to be involved in 6 deals.
Okay.
That doesn't mean full 360, but of those 6, 2 of them have to be 360 deals. Mm-hmm. So I'm a firm believer of anybody joining our business. I will introduce you to clients. I will introduce you to people. So you'll naturally be able to get a couple of splits of jobs that are flipped and so on. Mm-hmm. But what I want to see from month 4, 5, and 6 is that you can feed yourself. So there's that. There's then the behaviors that are massive on, and that's energy, enthusiasm, and collaboration. Like you've got to bring that every single day. Like if you're not bringing that and you've hit the financial target, like we need to have a little bit of a look about it. And then the KPI piece or the output piece is you have to meet 8 people a week in our business, face-to-face or on Teams. The bare minimum is 4 face-to-face.
Right. And is that candidates and clients?
It's candidates and clients. The 8 are candidates and clients. I want a minimum of 4 being client.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. I've never come across anyone who's got such a push on face-to-face meetings.
I think it comes down to relationship. Like at the end of the day, if somebody's going to put their trust in me to recruit for them or put their trust in me from a job search point of view, and I've not sat down with them face-to-face, how do they know that I've listened to everything? Like, how do they know what I'm about? Mm-hmm. I think you really struggle on Teams.
Do you get much pushback from your candidates when you suggest meeting face-to-face or?
Not in the slightest. It comes down to like, I always try and look at it from the point of view of what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. they get to understand if I'm credible or not. They can then get an understanding of like the value and the impact that I can have or we can have in a positive way. Because I think recruiters don't think about that. But also it's a chance for them to talk about like the stuff that they love. Like when I look at somebody's CV, like it's 2-dimensional, right? It doesn't tell the story. Like the reason why I want to sit down face to face is so they can tell me the story. Like what's the shit that they love doing on a day-to-day basis? Because that's what I'm going to go and find.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to find them a technical reporting role if they love commercial finance. So, but you can't tell that from a CV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. Just going back to Robert Half then, and when you first got into it, did you have success in your first year, or was it, did you come across any kind of struggles early on?
Yeah, I had a lot of success. Like I billed 178k my first year from a gross margin point of view. I put a lot of that down to like the manager I had. Like it was a bloke called Matt Tabraham. Matt, if you're listening, shout out, mate.
Probably won't be.
He's based in Boston these days. He was phenomenal. Like he taught me absolutely everything. Like, and was it tough? Yeah, of course it was. But it was me and him on the temp desk, and like, I was just a sponge. There was challenges, of course there was. Like, if I needed a beasting from him, I got an absolute kicking. Verbally, clearly, don't condone violence in recruitment. But yeah, it was challenging, but it was great. I was in an environment, and I was around people that were successful. Like I was around people that were billing 250, 300k in a Scottish market, which is quite insular and it's quite hard to break into. So I loved being around those people. And there was a lot of big billers at Half at the time. Like I got exposure to people around the UK, and you had people that were billing 800-900k a year. And to be around that was phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you believe that like if you're in an office where the top biller is doing 150k versus if you're in an office where the top biller is doing 1 million, do you think you'll kind of end up being what you're around?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in all aspects of life. You are a product of your environment.
Yeah.
If you are around people who are happy with being really, really average, and whatever that number looks like, you will become average.
Yeah.
But if you're around people that are striving to be in the top 1%, you're going to try and get there. And you might never get there, but you'll get incrementally better every week, every month, every quarter. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah,
no, me too. If you could give any advice to your younger self going back to Robert Half when you first started, what would it be?
Great question. I think it's advice to anybody getting into recruitment. Be a sponge.
Yeah.
Absorb as much information from the people around you as possible. Like and reach out to different people from different businesses, like different recruitment backgrounds. LinkedIn's phenomenal now. Like you can reach out to competitors and you can ask for help and guidance. Like 10, 11, 12 years ago, like you didn't have any of that. Like if I was connected with anybody from Michael Page, Matt would be like, you can get rid of that connection request.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like everybody wants to see other people succeed. So be a sponge and just utilize everybody around you, but utilize like the social element of LinkedIn as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's one non-negotiable that you do every day that you couldn't live without from a recruitment standpoint?
From a recruitment, all right.
And as a biller as well, specifically.
Yeah. I think there's two parts to it, mate. There's a personal bit, and that links in to the recruitment bit. Okay. Like I've got to be in the gym every single morning, like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Wow.
Like I have to. I've got 2 kids, so it's got to be done.
Yeah.
If I don't have that, like I get what I call like brain fog. Like I've got to be in. I've got to exercise. If I've done that, I can then go into my day and I've, because it helps me with clarity of thought and clarity of thinking and like my to-do list and task lists. So I have to do that. But I have to be planned every single day without fail.
Okay.
So like I am religiously planned. Like I know who I'm calling. I know why. I know who I'm approaching. Like we've got a great CRM that does all of that for you, but I'm still old school. Like I still have to write it down. Mm-hmm. And like I have like 2 pages of like what my day looks like.
Yeah. Is that night before or
night before?
Night before, yeah.
Night before.
I agree. That Trevor Pinder, right?
Yeah.
He big believer in that, isn't he? Like day plan night before. What do you do differently now compared to when you started? Aside from obviously the fact that you're running a business.
From a recruitment point of view, or
recruitment point of view.
I see myself as more an advisor. Okay. Like when I first started, I was a salesman. I would cold call. I would rattle through a candidate down the phone. Like I wouldn't listen to the client. I wouldn't listen to their objective. It was, you're going to hear me talk about this ACA qualified candidate that I've got on my books, and you're either going to hire them or you're not. Now it's about listening and actively listening. And I want to go and sit down with a business or sit down with a candidate and understand the motivation, like understand the pain point, identify the problem, and then provide the solution or be part of the solution. So I think recruitment's evolved, and I see myself more in an advisory capacity now to businesses. Clearly, I'm making placements, right? I'm still placing people. That fundamental of recruitment hasn't changed, but how you go about it, in my opinion, has.
I think that will make you look way more credible as well, just considering yourself as an advisor as just like a transactional fee chaser.
Yeah.
I want to move on to management then. So obviously you've started at Robert Half, you've done really well, you've progressed into management across your time there. But we all know that good recruiters don't always make good managers.
Yeah.
So what are the challenges you've faced making that transition? What's allowed you to be successful?
I definitely was not a good manager at the start. And I think even though I had training and Robert Half gave me we called it divisional manager training, and you went through the ranks with it. I wasn't a good manager because everything was just about the P&L. Everything was just about what fees were getting boarded, what we were invoicing. That's all I cared about. And I burnt through a lot of people. I hired a lot of people and burnt through a lot of people. When I was at Half, because of that approach and because of that mentality, I was a micromanager. I've evolved in that period of self-reflection of moving to that smaller business. I was a product of my environment. That's the way Robert Half was.
So you were micromanaged.
Yeah.
That's helped you.
100%. I think it's helped me understand what good looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a need for it anymore. But I was micromanaged, so then I micromanaged everybody, managers, consultants, everybody that was working for me. I see myself now as that player coach, and that will evolve, right? We've gone from May 2023 at Forge to me, Riz and Adam to a team of 12 next week. And it will continue to evolve, but I see myself as that player coach. I would never ask somebody to do something that I will not and won't do myself. And for me, it's just making everybody better incrementally, week on week, month on month, quarter on quarter. But the mindset has shifted to, let me show you how to get there. Let's put some theory behind it. Let's put it into practice, rather than here's a load of KPIs, hit them, and I'm going to make you cry.
Yeah,
which was the mentality.
And I believe that there's two parts to being successful in recruitment, right? Obviously, it usually comes down to quality and quantity, right? You can't have one without the other. If somebody's got the quantity, they're putting the effort in, they're a great character, but they're just not quite cutting it for whatever reason, I'm assuming you then look at yourself and how you can get the best out of them. What's typically your approach to that?
Well, ultimately, it starts and stops with me. I met somebody yesterday that we're probably going to move forward with, or no, we will move forward with. And she asked me a question of what happens if I'm not successful? That is on me. Mm-hmm. If I'm bringing somebody into the business, I've got to give them the right tech stack, right? I've got to invest in them. I've got to give them the right tools to be successful. And that's everything. So anybody coming in, we'll look at what that person wants to achieve over a 12-month period. We'll break it down from a billings point of view, per quarter, per month, per week. And we'll break it down to the metrics behind so what do you actually need to do from an output point of view, and then we'll just work together from an accountability piece. So we are religious in everybody together right now, morning and evening, kickoffs and wrap-ups. Not for me to go, how have you got on against your 8 meetings for the week? It's what were the things that you held yourself accountable to? And then in our weekly catch-ups.
Is that individually, sorry, or is that a team?
We do that as a team,
okay.
And then I'll sit down with everybody individually every week, and this is what you set out, this is what you said you wanted to achieve. Have you hit it? Great. What are still the learns? What could we do better? If you've not hit it, it's well, why? But let's work through it together. And it's what I ask everybody, what development need do you need for the following week? What do you think you need? And then I'll give you my opinion. And then we'll build it into next week. We'll do some live on spot stuff together, or we'll go in a meeting room and we'll talk about different scenarios. So it's constant on the job. I think is really, really important.
How granular is it in terms of what they set out that they want to achieve?
It's as granular as they want it to be.
So we're talking, I want to do 10 calls, I want to do 3 CVs.
Could be. I want to book in 3 candidates for register. that week. It could be I want to do 15 cold calls that day to businesses that I've never worked with.
Yeah.
It could be I want to do this amount of outreach. So it's as granular as they want it to be. It's not for my benefit. It's for them to have something so that they can hold themselves accountable.
What's the biggest challenge you have with managing?
My standards and my expectation.
How do you counter that?
Try not to be a dick.
Yeah.
Like my expectations, like for myself, like are sky high. Like I always want to push myself. I always want to put myself under a ton of pressure, whether that's personal or professional. When I'm putting myself under that type of pressure, I need to ensure that I then don't put that on anyone else. That's a challenge. But it's just the way I'm built. I don't necessarily have an answer for you. Like, how do you manage it? You just got to try your best.
Yeah.
And when you do act like that, you just got to correct it.
Yeah.
Like straight away.
You're just learning all the time, isn't it? Right? Like nobody's a finished article.
Nobody.
There'll be a lot of people out there, perhaps not listening to this, but they're maybe starting their management journey. You know, they've been successful as a biller and now they've taken on someone. Yeah. What advice would you give them?
Think about how you would like to be managed when you first started out. Yeah. Like, I think that's really, really important. Like, almost do that self-reflection before you even take the gig on. Like, how do you want to be managed? And what effort are you actually going to put into this person? Like, because that's massive. I was given a manager job. I didn't ask for it. I was given one and I had to figure it out. I'd like to think things have evolved. But think about what positive impact you want to leave on that person, and then design yourself and your management structure on that. Yeah,
that's really good advice. Thank you. So I want to skip a little bit on here now. So obviously it's gone really well at Robert Half, gone to FJR, and then you mentioned the birth of your daughter. It was like, right, if I don't set up on my own now, when will I do it? What was the thinking behind Forge? How did you know, aside from your daughter being born, it was the right time? And what makes you so passionate about, you know, making Forge what you want it to be?
I think, just briefly on the FJR bit, was we got to a point where we had 45, 50 people. Like, from a revenue, so top line point of view, like from an outside looking in, we were making a lot of money. I didn't realize some of the challenges we had within the business until I became CEO. And there was still elements of like being in a financial pickle. So there's that element. There's then Delilah being born. There's then the third piece, which is I got really, really frustrated with the way, and I still am frustrated, that's why I'm so vocal on LinkedIn, about how transactional recruitment is. Nobody thinks about the negative impact they can have on a candidate or client, like from a recruiter point of view, because people are out there just trying to chase a fee. And they don't think about that. So Forge Talent was my way of, I wanted a business where the core DNA is relationship driven, it's partnership led. Like, we are a true talent partner to businesses in the Northwest.
So to interrupt, can you give me an example there then of what you're talking about, that transactional style of recruitment that could really have like a lasting impact on someone?
Right. Just flinging mud and hoping that it sticks, right? A business is, everybody's a customer to me, right? But if a candidate goes to register with 4, 5, 6, 7 agencies, like, what normally is going to happen? That CV is just going to get spammed to a database of clients.
Yeah.
How's that right for the candidate? Has anybody actually listened to what the candidate wants, like what the motivations are? And then you've got people in the industry that try and force candidates to go for interviews and force people to take jobs. How is that right? And then from client point of view, like, because you're just spamming a database, like, you try to square peg a round hole. You don't understand like the challenges and the nuances within the business, and the end user is paying a fee, but also you're having an impact on somebody's career journey.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
Okay. And the Forge obviously built on addressing that, not being that. What else? Obviously you touched on birth of your daughter. Like, what I'm just trying to get to the point in your head where it was like, right, it's time to do it. So it's, you know, addressing that. We don't want to be transactional recruiters. What else was the thinking behind Forge?
There has been a changing of the guard going on in finance recruitment across the Northwest. Like, you've always had your large corporates that have dominated the marketplace. They treated people, candidates, clients, colleagues internally, like shit during COVID. So for me, there was an opportunity where, if I'm looking at the large corporates and they're issuing profit warnings, like they're slashing staff during then, they're still doing it now. There is a chance for me to build a business, build a brand where we are everything that they are not. right? We are this advisory capacity. We are not transactional recruiters. There's also a change under the guard going on in senior finance. So you've got a new age of finance directors, a new age of CFOs, that where the relationships that once were there have started to transition away. So for me, it was like, well, there's an opportunity here to capitalize on that market shift from corporate to smaller boutique type businesses. Everything that had gone on at FJR, Delilah wanted to build a business that's purely based on partnerships and relationships. It was just like this effective, everything just all happening at once.
And talk to me about that journey then, how it's been, what, third year now?
Yeah, it's 2.5 years in. It's been not without its challenges. You know, you're a business owner. Like, there's definitely in the first sort of 6 to 12 months, there's been a couple of moments where you've gone, fuck, right, okay, this is tough. Like, there's going to be a pinch point. Like, I'm gonna have to make some moves.
Because you smashed it to start with, though, didn't you? I remember speaking to you as a client early on, and I couldn't believe how well you'd build to start.
Yeah, like I think when we set the business up, it was just me doing perm, and it was Riz and Adam doing interim. I think the first 12, like, you know what it's like. You've been an interim biller yourself. Like, the first 12 months on interim, like, was really, really tough. Like, I may as well have just set fire to cash because you're paying salaries. Like, the boys have got mortgages to pay, and the interim market wasn't, and it still to a degree isn't where I would want it to be. But fortunately, I was managing to build really well from a permanent point of view, so we could cover that. And then it was just a case of adding the right people as and when. We fast forward to, well, next week we're going to be a team of 12. We're the fastest growing finance recruiter in the North. We've helped 250 finance professionals into new roles in that time period. We're working with some brilliant, like, large PLC businesses, a lot of high growth private equity. I think, but most important thing is we're making an impact. Like, we're making a positive impact in a market where there's so much change been going on.
When you look at Forge, where it is now from where it started, like, what are you kind of most proud of?
Some of the partnerships we've had from a client point of view, like people that wouldn't have touched us right at the start because we had no brand and no presence. Now we're working with some of the biggest and fastest growing in the North. So there's that. I think some of the development of people, like, that we brought in along the way, like we're starting to have internal promotions and people stepping up to manage teams. I think just the impact. Like, the impact we're having across the Northwest ecosystem is, for me, it's awesome.
Well, as a business owner, what is your biggest stress day to day?
Cash. Always. Like, and we've got some, so it's all right. But I'm constantly sat there, like, refreshing, like, Northwest banking app, right? Like, constantly. Like, I want to see what's coming in. I want to see what's going out, like, all the time. I'm really fortunate that when I set the business up, there was somebody that I'd worked with for quite some time who is a CFO across the Northwest. She is a non-exec director for, like, a large portfolio of recruitment businesses. She's been there, she's done it, she's got the t-shirt, and she took care of my back office function. So, like, I still sit down with her every 2 weeks and we do a cash flow forecast and we model different scenarios of types of person to hire and when. So I'm really fortunate that I've got that relationship and I've had that. But cash is still, like, the thing that you think about, like, all the time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm on zero all the time. So what invoices are coming in or whatnot. Okay, so I want to move on to recruitment's reputation, which I know is something you will have a strong opinion on. So, as I'm sure you're aware, everyone hates recruiters, right? Or that's certainly how it feels sometimes. Like, why do you think that is?
Because we are perceived, and rightly so, as sleazy car salesmen and women. Nothing against people that sell cars, but that's our perception. Like, and rightly so. Like, listen to some of the stuff that goes on. Like, there's false representation of businesses. Like, candidates' CVs are getting submitted for roles that agencies haven't even been briefed on. Like, it's just bullshit. Like, absolute bullshit.
Do you think it's, you said rightly so, like, you think it's justified? I
do.
Yeah,
100%. Not everyone. Like, there's some phenomenal recruiters and phenomenal recruitment businesses out there, but I'd say 75% of the industry's got a really bad rep, and rightly so.
And you've developed this slogan that's quite popular on your LinkedIn, "Don't be a dick."
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
I think back to Robert Half. I was that dick. I was that Wolf of Wall Street bell end. And that translates into everything that you do. How you interact with candidates, how you interact with clients, how you interact with colleagues. Like, just be a good person.
Yeah.
Like, and things will come back round in a really, really positive way if you put the graft in.
For somebody who's watching this who perhaps doesn't know the industry as well as me and you, like, what would that Wolf of Wall Street person look like in a recruitment office?
Oh, Jesus.
Not just on the physical aspect as well.
I was going to say 3-piece suits, Hermes ties, hair slicked back like it still is today. Yeah. But just this aura of arrogance. Mm-hmm. And like, it comes back to what we were talking about at the start, right? Product of environment. I think that's the way the industry has always been. That's what that person looks like. But the behavior is that aura of arrogance. And sometimes it's not even justified.
And if you could change one thing about the industry overnight, then what would it be?
Regulate it.
How would that work then?
Regulate the industry. I would have some form of ethics board or ethics committee where every single recruitment owner if you're going to be a director on Company's House, or you're going to be a managing director, you have to have passed that.
And how would you pass something like that?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, will we ever see it in our lifetime? I don't know. I would love to see it regulated though. And look, and there are bodies out there right now, governing bodies that are auditing people. Like, I think that's a good thing. But I think there needs to be more of it. Mm-hmm. Like, there are a lot of businesses in Manchester that need to be audited. Yeah.
And looking back over the years then, like, can you see ways in which you've contributed to the industry having that kind of reputation?
100%. Like, in the early days, yeah, like, absolutely.
Without incriminating yourself too much, have you got any examples for us?
I think there's probably a few, like, because it was just about getting a temp start out. So one in particular, right? And it's absolutely nonsense that makes me like cringe thinking about it now. Like, back in the days of temp or interim, like, you would straight start people left and right. Like, you wouldn't even send a CV. Like, you would phone a client, like, you would sell somebody and there was a need, the person would start the following day. I sold a candidate in to a client that I'd never worked with, telling them that they were a SAP systems specialist. The candidate had never used SAP. Like, so that afternoon, and I'm phoning the candidate, I'm like, right, you Google like SAP models and like you start looking at SAP models. I remember the candidate phoning me from the toilet on her lunch break being like, yeah, this is way off. I'm like, oh, just stay there for another couple of weeks. Like, just figure it out. So yeah, 100% contributed to it.
Yeah. What's the biggest, or what's the most embarrassing mistake you've ever made in recruitment?
Oh, Jesus. Most embarrassing mistake I've ever made in recruitment. Sending a temp to start a job that wasn't the person that I sold over the phone.
Was that by accident or on purpose?
Yeah, it was by accident. They had very, very similar names.
Right. Okay.
Right. But yeah, that was embarrassing. The temp worked out. Right. The person was.
So they actually worked there, yeah?
It still worked out, but yeah, sent the wrong person.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. What about, like, what do you think is the biggest misconception people potentially have about recruiters?
They think it's easy. Like, they think you just fling a job ad up and that's how you can fill a vacancy. I barely advertise roles like anymore. Like, I'm sure you don't. Like, it's strategic. Like, I'm out there headhunting people, and it depends on the level in the market that you're in. But people have this conception of, preconception that it's easy. All you do, you just help people find jobs and you just fling up a job ad. That's absolutely nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I remember when I first got into recruitment, it's just like, all you do is fucking sit on LinkedIn all day. Like, it's a piece of piss, your job.
Yeah.
People trafficking and all that. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to some like contentious topics then. So we touched on it earlier. What's your thoughts? Where do you stand on KPIs?
They have their place. Like, I think it depends what they are. Like, but if it's on like CV sends and stuff like that, I don't care about stuff like that. For me, going back to that core output and focus, like 8 meetings a week. That is all I'm bothered about from a business point of view.
Because you've alluded to CVs there, and CV probably sits in between like that input that you're suggesting, the meetings, and obviously the most important one, billing. So interesting that you wouldn't track like CVs. Do you track interviews, for example? Or?
Yeah, well, of course I track interviews. Yeah, but going back to the CV point, if your target for somebody is you've got to send 10 CVs out the door, my argument would be, well, how many of those are actually relevant? Mm-hmm. Like, where are they actually going? Is it just sending people on your database? Like, you can fake KPIs.
But could you not make the same argument just playing devil's advocate for meetings? Could you not just meet a shit candidate for the sake of hitting it?
Yeah, you could. You absolutely could. But that's where it comes down to the leadership and the management, right? To go through everything, like every week, like talk me through, like when I sit down, it's like, talk me through the candidates you met this week, and why have you met them, and why are they right, and what are you going to do for them? And it's the same from a client point of view. We have a meeting every Friday, like as a business. It's what meetings have you been on this week? Like from a client point of view, why? Who else went with you? Because we buddy up on everything, and what's in the diary for next week. So you can't really fake it.
Yeah.
Like if people are into the detail, and they should be, because it's not about me and it's not about my ego. It's like, if you've told me you want to build 200 grand a year, I'm going to help you get there, but listen to this.
Yeah. I agree. I think KPIs should be based on your business, what works. You should be into the data to know that if I track this and people hit this number, obviously you've seen it with meetings, you will be successful. I think it comes down to how you manage people on KPIs. That's the difference between them being good and being bad. Like, what do you think the key is to managing people well when using KPIs versus perhaps not?
There's this phrase that was always used with me, and it's like, as a leader, you are there to light the fire within somebody rather than under, right? So don't beat somebody over the head with a KPI for the sake of it. Like, as a leader, do you genuinely believe in that KPI? Like, do you think it's going to work? Do you think it's going to contribute to the success and help people understand why? Don't just use it as a metric for the sake of it.
Yeah. I really particularly agree with that second point about helping people understand why. Because if they think it's just a case of hitting it for the sake of it, then they're going to resent you, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I was, when I first started out in recruitment, I had KPIs like decision maker conversations, for example, and I would ring people for the sake of ringing people, even though I rang them the week before, and I hated it. Since maturing a bit and obviously running a business, I appreciate KPIs a lot more now. Yep. But perhaps it could have been explained to me more why they were being used. And
it's like we had a KPI, and it's ridiculous. And if you ask anybody that worked for me at Robert Half, and a few of the guys did, who are now at Forge, we had short hour reports, right? So phone time that would go around, and like we would send out every single day, like at 5 o'clock, of like, right, you've only done an hour and 50 minutes today on the phone. And I used to be like, shout round the room to people, "You working part time?"
Yeah,
like it's
classic.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, it doesn't matter. I can phone the talking clock. Like, it doesn't actually mean anything. So, like, where's the quality behind it?
Yeah. It's funny, that call time one, isn't it? I've got clients who still use it, so I won't slag it off too much. But, yeah, I've done the same, mate. I had numbers in Belgium where I used to recruit, and it just put you through to, like, a hold music for half an hour. Yeah. It's so counterproductive, isn't it?
It is. I would much rather somebody sends out an email and books a meeting off the back of that than literally sat like trying to get through somebody's reception, trying to get through a gatekeeper to talk to somebody. Like, it's just bollocks to me.
But on the flip side of that, what I will say is all the best recruiters that I've ever worked with happen to be on the phone an awful lot.
But because they understand why.
Yeah.
To make a placement, right, you have to fill a job. To fill a job, you have to meet a client. To like be able to take somebody through a process, you have to have met a candidate. To meet a candidate, you have to have been on the phone. And everybody on the top billers understand that.
Yeah.
It's on leadership to explain like why.
Yeah, 100%. What's your take on hybrid working versus being in the office?
Look, we're hybrid now. I think what COVID gave everybody was a degree of flexibility, and people have showed that they can work from home. We're a grown-up business. We're an adult business. We're 3 days a week in the office with 2 from home. The 2 from home, though, is when people are out like across Manchester, Greater Manchester, Cheshire, out meeting candidates and clients.
Mm-hmm. So they don't happen on office days?
They do, but I think it happens more when people are at home. Like when we're in the office together, like there's a buzz, it's collaboration, like there's energy. When people are out, Monday and a Wednesday with us, people are at home. It's when they're out meeting people. Yeah.
What's your take on how LinkedIn is used these days and the stuff you see on LinkedIn?
It's a cesspit. I think LinkedIn's great. I think everybody should be building their own personal brand. You can monetize it. I've monetized it. Like, I've made placements from clients that have reached out to me directly because of content. I think everybody's got to do it. I think people can see that Forge do it a lot. But posting a picture of me and a pair of budgie smugglers on the beach is absolutely pointless. However, it could work for other people that do that, right? Yeah. But I think there's LinkedIn is starting to blur the lines of like Instagram and Facebook and all that crap. Mm-hmm. Like, it's still it's a personal brand and business platform.
So what? Because I get where you're coming from there, and I agree. to an extent, but like the personal branding, it's a really grey area, right? Where do you draw the line? Like, you know, how much do you believe in, like, oh, no, I was out with my kids at weekend at the beach, blah blah blah? Do you think there's a place for anything sort of personal, so people can kind of get to know you as a person? How personal is okay? Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends person by person.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think like what do my audience want, right? So what's in it for them? Like that's always what I think about. It's like, it's advice. It's me, people calling out the industry. It's talking about that advisory piece. It's talking about the growth of Forge. I don't post pictures really of my kids. I think I've done it like once or twice, like when I've been on paternity leave and stuff like that. I think it's up to everybody what they want to do. But I think posting pictures of like me at Ocean Club in Ibiza or something like that, I just think, well, what's the point? Like I've got other social media platforms for that.
Yeah.
Everybody complains about like the DMs that they get and some of the crap in comments. It's like, well, you're putting yourself out there. Like, well, of course people are going to comment.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends on the person. Like for me, it's still a business platform, but I think I show enough of myself that people know who I am and what I'm about. Yeah.
No, I'd agree with that. Do you think good recruiters can work in any market or not? And if so, why?
Great question. I think great recruiters can transition into markets. Yeah, of course they can. There's always going to be that hockey stick analogy of it's going to take a hell of a lot of time. I think for me, like the learnings over the years with Half, we had finance and accounting, technology, HR, Simps, same with FJR. With Forge, we're just doing finance. I want everybody to have a deep narrow focus, like a specialist area, and we've split the business into like 3 pockets of finance. That's all you do day in, day out. So to answer your question, I think, yes, it is doable, but if you're flip-flopping between market, specialism, like country, I don't think you'll be successful.
Because you typically only look for people with finance experience, right? When you hire for Forge, do you therefore think it's just a bit too hard to transition or takes too long potentially?
No, it's not that. I think it's just where we're at as a business evolution point of view. It's because I'm still on the tools, like I'm still very much customer facing, like going back to like leading from the front. I don't have time to train people with no finance and accounting experience. That will change. We're 12 heads today. The goal is by the end of next year to be 20 plus. As we go through that next phase of growth, of course, we're going to have to hire people from like market changes, or we're going to have to hire trainees or graduates or whatever you want to call them, people that don't have finance experience. But by then we'll have the infrastructure set up and we'll have the right people in the right place to train and develop those people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds.
No, it definitely has. You obviously you do think people can do change markets and have success, but as long as you're not flip-flopping between them, for you guys and just hiring in general, it depends where you are as a business and the support you can put into them. So makes sense. What's next for Forge then?
So by the end of next year, I want to be the largest finance and accounting recruiter in the North.
Right.
From a headcount point of view. And then that'll then start to filter through in terms of turnover, gross margin.
So I'm just thinking off the top of my head there, like a Walters, for example.
We're already bigger.
Your team, you're as in finance and accounting part of it, right?
From a headcount point of view.
Yeah.
We're already bigger.
Because they do obviously multiple markets. Yeah.
So our biggest competitor, shout out to them, is Axon Moore.
Right.
Biggest competitor. Great business, great reputation. They've done great things for the last 20, 25 years in the market. My plan is to overtake by the end of next year.
Yeah. So headcount be the biggest.
Be the biggest. Then when we move into sort of 2027, I want to start looking at some form of RPO type model, where we can be a project-based solution, still from finance, but add in change and transformation. 2028, US.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Are you going to spearhead it?
I'm not going to spearhead it. I'm not going to move. I would, but I don't think my wife would be up for it with the kids.
Too happy in Monton.
Yeah, we've moved, mate. We're in Woodford now. But I don't think Danielle would want to move. What I'd love is somebody internally to put their hands up who's got the DNA of everything that we're about and say, I want to go. I want to build a team. I've got a lot of people that I know in the US who do finance recruitment as well, so it would make sense to start conversations with them. So yeah, 2028, the US.
Amazing. And you're working towards an exit, right? That's the grand plan.
That'll be the goal.
What's timescales looking like for that? Or
2033.
nice.
I've said from the moment that we set up, it's like 10-year build, scale, get to a point of transaction. Whether that's a management buyout, whether that's an employee type trust, whether that's private equity, it's totally open to it. And whether it means I then stay on for another 3-4 years and then take the business through another phase, it'll never be a trade sale, though. I'll never sell to another recruitment business.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but like, what would life look like to you then? Is it, flip flops on the beach?
Yeah, no. I think that would be. If you asked me that sort of like years ago, I'd be like, yeah, that would be great. I'd get in my own head. Like I'd want to do something else. I think for me, when we get to that point, and whether it's 2033 where it's full transaction, or it's 2036, I'm still involved to a degree, and then I go. I'd want to help other recruitment business owners, like with investment, with guidance, help structure, help them to help take them on a journey that they want to be part of as well.
Yeah. Final question then, mate, just to round out, like, how has success changed for you over time?
Great question. Success, well, I think about like the first 7 or 8 years of my career was just about money, ego, being known as like a top performer or like one of the best in the businesses that I worked at, and having loads of people work for me. Like that's what it looked like. Now success is my family, my kids. And so I want to be in a position where my kids, and it doesn't mean from a materialistic point of view, my kids, my wife, they never have to want for anything. Everything I do is to provide for them. And that's all I live and breathe.
Mate, well, I think that's a great place to finish. So, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Loved it.